In the headlines of this hour on VTV News, challenges faced in efforts to remove the European Commission's yellow card. And later on, State President extends gratitude to doctors on Vietnamese Doctors' Day. And in our world news, UN Chief, world is becoming less safe by the day.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam, VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is currently 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to 30 minutes of VTV News. I'm Lilin Lei with the latest updates. Now on Tuesday morning, Prime Minister Phie hosted a government meeting to discuss lawmaking in February, covering 11 important topics. These include 6 proposed laws, the law on people's air defense, the revised law on management and use of weapons, explosive and support tools, the amended law on cultural heritage, the law on geology and minerals, the law amending certain articles of the law on standards and technical regulations, and the law on pharmacy. The government also discussed 4 proposals to develop the law on diplomatic level titles, the amended law on aviation, the revised law on railway, and the law on digital technology industry. The Prime Minister stressed that the lawmaking process should aim to remove difficulties and obstacles encountered in practice, cut administrative procedures, and create favorable conditions to foster production and business, freeing up resources for national development. At the meeting, the Prime Minister also extended congratulations to the health sector on the 69th anniversary of Vietnamese Doctors' Day. In early February, at the 9th meeting of the National Steering Committee on Combating Illegal, Unreported and Unregulated or IUU fishing, Deputy Prime Minister Trần Lưu Quang assigned specific tasks and solutions to coastal localities. These measures are to be implemented promptly from now until April, in preparation for the 5th inspection by the European Commission or EC. However, inspections by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development have revealed that some fishing ports are not seriously implementing the EC's recommendations.
After verifying the whereabouts of 10 ships operating under the Tan Hoa Fishing Port Management Board, it was found that 9 were fishing in incorrect areas. Additionally, there were discrepancies in the fishing logbooks. Errors were found in the recording of dates, times, and departure and arrival points, which did not match the provided data.
The declared port was Bạch Long Vĩ, but other documents show both departure and return as Lạch Hới. The error in this file is very serious and cannot be disputed. Even a single mistake can imply a lack of complete control over the chain. The EC will inspect the entire control of the fishery exploitation chain.
The European Commission's inspection team has a significant interest in penalties. The National Steering Committee's strategy for combating illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing is not just focused on achievements but also on preventing reoccurrence. By preventing new fishermen from repeating offenses, this approach protects the long-term interests of the fishing community.
All fisheries law enforcement forces will increase patrols to control and handle violations of the border. They will strictly monitor sea areas bordering other countries to prevent fishing vessels from encroaching on foreign waters and foreign fishing vessels from violating Vietnam's waters. We are determined to achieve good results from now until April and seize the opportunity to remove the yellow card.
For fishermen, it's crucial to verify the signal of the vessel monitoring device before embarking on a long sea voyage after Tet. After decades of seafaring, Sang and his crew are acutely aware of their responsibility to the nation and the importance of their work.
There are many ships in Vietnam, but I hope no one violates foreign waters. We should fish only in Vietnam, and not go to a foreign country. If we go to neighboring countries, they will catch us, and we will lose our livelihoods.
Whether Vietnam can remove the European Commission's yellow card this year largely depends on the actions of individual fishermen and the cooperation of relevant agencies.
Seafood exports in January showed significant growth, reaching nearly $750 million, a 64% increase compared to the same period last year. Remarkably, exports to major markets such as China, the US, Japan, and Europe experienced sharp increases. The Vietnam Association of Seafood Exporters and Producers, or VASEP, reported that key products such as shrimp, crayfish, and tuna all made significant strides compared to the same period last year. This progress provides a vital driving force for the seafood industry's recovery this year. The Vietnam Maritime Administration estimates that an 8% increase in the total volume of goods through the seaport in the first 2 months of this year compared to the same period last year. This includes an 8% increase in exports, a 16% increase in imports, and an estimated 4% increase in domestic goods. The volume of container goods through seaports has also increased by 27% over the same period, with the highest output in Ho Chi Minh City, Vũng Tàu, and Hải Phòng. At the beginning of the year, export turnover significantly increased compared to the previous period, signaling positive trends. Most businesses are operating stably, and workers are back to their regular duties. The Binh Thuận Provincial Management Board of Industrial Parks reported that local enterprises resumed strong production and business activities right after the Tết holiday. Notably, Binh Thuận export industry experienced a considerable surge in the first 2 months of the year.
Soon after resuming operations post-Lunar New Year, this wood and furniture company secured over 40 orders from the United States and Canada. The wood and furniture industry is witnessing a robust recovery in many key global markets, resulting in a surge in new export orders.
Orders in the first quarter of this year have increased by 235% compared to the same period in 2023.
In the province's garment, handbag, and processing industries, there are promising signs. Consequently, companies are investing in continuously improving product quality. They are also actively seeking international market expansion to maintain growth from the start of the year.
We have received orders up until June this year. We are finding new partners and recruiting more workers to fulfill these orders.
Currently, there are 66 enterprises in industrial parks throughout the province, operating stably with over 11,500 employees. The revenue of these businesses in the first 2 months of the year is estimated at $64.8 million, an 8% increase from the same period last year.
Most businesses have secured export orders, and many of them have signed long-term contracts.
In 2024, Binh Thuận aims to surpass its target export turnover of $791.3 million. The rise in exports during the first 2 months of the year is an encouraging sign that Binh Thuận province is on track to meet its export goal for the year.
Ninh Thuận aims to export 20,000 tons of grapes and apples by 2030. The locality has implemented a plan to prioritize the production of these fruits. This includes creating a policy to attract scientists for research collaborations, technical transfers, and the development of export plans for the Russian, Chinese, and Ukrainian markets. Ninh Thuận hopes that by 2030, the province will have 300 hectares of grape production yielding 8,000 tons and 100 hectares of apple production yielding 12,000 tons for export. Despite being considered the capital of grapes and apples in Vietnam, these fruits have not been exported. Local residents contribute their land and capital to establish craft village industrial clusters. This model has proven effective in the Phu Tuc Craft Village industrial cluster situated in Phu Xuyên District, Hanoi. This approach results in lower land prices and simplifies land clearance. Additionally, craft villagers benefit from ample facilities, eliminating the need to work in crowded and dusty environments.
In the past, the Phu Tuc Rantan and Bamboo Craft Village was congested. dusty, and lack fire safety measures. But such factories no longer exist in the village. A craftsman who once owned a mere 100 square meter factory now operates a factory 12 times larger in the new craft village industrial cluster.
I made a bold decision to donate 1,800 square meters of my house as capital to the cluster. The Phie company has had all households here complete the procedures to change agricultural land to industrial land.
For the past decade, this woman had to operate from small warehouses spanning only 200 square meters. The task of transferring and collecting goods for packaging from one warehouse to another posed significant challenges. Furthermore, due to narrow roads, goods have to be moved by car to the village entrance for container loading. Previously, she accepted orders only up to $4,000. However, with the new industrial cluster, she now accepts orders ranging from $33,000 to $40,000 for the US or Europe.
We feel reassured working in this industrial cluster because we own the land and the warehouse. We are now more confident about expanding into foreign markets.
The Phu Top Craft Village Industrial Cluster spans approximately 6 hectares. It is established on agricultural land with capital contributions from 31 households. These households then designate an individual to act as the investor's legal representative and manage building procedures. Given his nationwide business experience, the village selected Trần Văn Hiến to be the project investor.
I do not take a single square meter of land or any differences in fees for myself. I am very happy that I can help people in my village develop our traditional bamboo and rattan craft village sustainably.
People are in consensus. From a management perspective, we, as a local government, are also very supportive. Customers will feel assured when visiting this facility, which is spacious and meets standards.
Since the locals construct the cluster themselves, the cost of 1 square meter of industrial cluster land is only a third of that commercial projects. Consequently, the Commute Authority is planning to expand the cluster by an additional 8 hectares following this model.
Before we move on, let's have a look at the exchange rate between the Vietnam dong and some world currencies in today's market. Coming up next on VTV News. The 69th anniversary of Vietnamese Doctors' Day is celebrated. And later on, educational initiative aims to heighten students' appreciation for heritage conservation. Moving on to other important updates, in honor of the 69th anniversary of Vietnamese Doctors' Day, the Commission of Popularization and Education, along with the Ministry of Health, hosted a program to celebrate Vietnamese doctors and announce the winners of the 6th Silent Sacrifice Essay Writing Contest on Monday night. Now, State President Võ Văn Thưởng, representing the party and state leaders, attended the event. He extended his deepest congratulations and gratitude to doctors, officials, and medical staff across Vietnam. He also expressed his belief that the health sector will continue to unite in caring for people's health and inspire hope for better lives. The state president, along with other leaders, also awarded prizes to the winners of the Silent Sacrifice Essay Contest on this occasion. Meanwhile, an award ceremony was also held in Ho Chi Minh City on Monday night to recognize the exceptional medical achievements of the Vietnamese health sector in 2023. The Vietnam Medical Achievement Award for 2023 aims to showcase technological applications and innovative healthcare efforts in patient care. The award not only inspires medical workers to innovate in the health sector, but also honors the healthcare workforce for their dedication to caring for and assisting patients. Over 50 young doctors have volunteered to work in underprivileged areas in the Mekong Delta through a unique program at Cần Thơ University of Medicine and Pharmacy. This initiative primarily aims to enhance the doctors' skills and experience, addressing the issue of insufficient specialist doctors in local and remote areas. More on this in the following.
These young doctors hail from various parts of the Mekong Delta but share a common thread. They have all chosen to forego job opportunities in urban areas. They volunteered to work in public health in the most disadvantaged areas, including remote and border regions, and the islands of the Mekong Delta.
I believe I have a duty and responsibility to take care of people. I'm doing my best to learn, and then I will return to my hometown to serve the locals.
My hometown faces several disadvantages in terms of facilities, and the people are still poor. So I want to learn something that I can use to return and help people in the region. It's more meaningful that way.
These young doctors not only possess the qualities of a good doctor, but are also striving to achieve their goals. They are diligently expanding their knowledge and honing their skills to meet the demands of a local healthcare worker.
They have demonstrated their desire to learn, proactively check on patients, and practice to hone their skills. It's all to master their profession and work as independent doctors after graduation.
Through this training project, the Ministry of Health aims to enhance the professional qualifications of doctors in these areas. In doing so, doctors can optimally utilize the medical equipment and tools available at the facility, thereby providing improved healthcare services to people in rural areas.
Researching and crossbreeding new rice varieties that are adaptive to climate change has become an urgent issue for all localities in the Mekong Delta, as the southernmost region of Vietnam is the most at risk from natural disasters. To reduce consequences of climate change, several localities have developed multiple stress-tolerant rice varieties with high yield potential.
2 hectares of a new rice variety, called VTVgo, has been grown in Tam Ben district. This rice variety can tolerate drought, salinity, and acid sulfate. After 3 months of trial planting, VTVgo proved resistant to major insect pests and diseases, helping farmers reduce pesticide use.
This stress-tolerant rice variety is resistant to insect pests and unfavorable weather conditions. With the safe use of pesticides, the rice meets high-quality standards.
This rice variety was cultivated in Japan and suitable to grow in Vietnam. It was recognized as a national rice variety in Vietnam by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. The growing and sowing period is 10 days longer than other common rice varieties. Therefore, developing this rice variety is part of the Mekong Delta region's goal to reach 1 million hectares of sustainable rice production.
We are aiming to develop sustainable rice production in the coming time. By 2030, we plan to grow from 3,000 to 4,000 hectares of stress-tolerant rice varieties, then gradually expand the growing area to 20,000 hectares.
Din Long authorities have implemented a project on developing 1 million hectares of high-quality, low-emission rice linked with green growth in the Mekong Delta region by 2030. According to this project, local farmers will be provided financial support to buy new rice varieties.
We don't want to grow a lot of rice varieties. Our aim is to help each locality specialize in growing from 3 to 4 high-quality rice varieties based on their conditions to meet market demand.
Authorities in the Mekong Delta are now aiming to develop multiple stress-tolerant rice varieties to help farmers reduce production costs and mitigate impacts of agriculture on the environment.
At the opening session of the Mobile World Congress, which kicked off on Monday, February the 26th in Spain, Vietnam officially introduced its 5G chips and Vian, a human AI researched and developed by Viettel Group. The 5G DFE chip series, capable of performing 1 quadrillion calculations per second. The AI digital likeness is highly regarded by reputable partners such as Synopsys, a leading global integrated circuit design provider. VTV is the first Vietnam human AI being capable of interacting virtually and naturally, as well as friendly with its clients. At the event, Viettel Group also introduced 17 products focusing on 4 categories, including network infrastructure, database, digital platforms, and future technology. Hà Giang, Cao Bằng, and Đắk Nông are 3 Vietnamese locations recognized by UNESCO as global geoparks. These areas feature natural landscapes abundant in geological and landscape heritage, carrying scientific, educational, and sustainable development significance. Maintaining this recognition requires local efforts, including strategies to elevate the geopark's value within the community.
For many years, Krong No High School's Hall of Achievement has been a place to display artifacts, information, and pictures related to the Dak Nong UNESCO Global Geopark. It is a popular destination for students to visit and learn about the geopark, particularly the heritage sites located within the Krong No district.
Students can directly visit the geopark locations. This piques their interest and increases their knowledge. They also recognize their responsibility to contribute to the preservation and promotion of the geopark's values.
In addition to a tourism club, teachers have incorporated information about the geopark into history and geography lessons. Each geopark destination boasts unique beauty, particularly the longest volcanic cave system in Southeast Asia and the rich diversity of its community culture.
Information about the geopark helps us better understand the geographical distance as well as the resources in the park. I feel like I need to contribute something to its development and help raise awareness among more people.
Students possess enhanced skills in guiding tourists and visiting student groups from the province when they come here to visit. These students are the most active members in promoting the image of the geopark.
Armed with their acquired knowledge, students will take on more responsibility, working together to preserve and protect the cultural and natural heritage of their homeland.
Coming up next in our world news. UN chief said the world is becoming less safe by the day. And later on, Israeli delegation heads to Qatar for ceasefire deal push. Now moving on to our world news, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned on Monday that the world is becoming less safe by the day. He urged for increased respect for human rights and peace worldwide. While opening the UN's top human rights body's latest session, Guterres highlighted the rapidly changing world and the increasing number of conflicts causing unparalleled suffering. The UN chief noted that human rights violations take various forms. He repeated his frequent calls for debt relief for some of the world's poorest countries and advocated for increased spending to combat climate change. The United Nations Human Rights Council began a 6-week session on Monday amidst numerous human rights crises. On Monday, Israeli officials traveled to Qatar, where Hamas maintains its political office, to negotiate terms for a truce in Gaza and a hostage release deal. The Israeli delegation, composed of military and Mossad spy agency staff, aimed to establish an operational center to facilitate these negotiations. During negotiations in Paris last week, Israel discussed a framework for the release of hostages with mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and the United States. According to U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, negotiators in Paris agreed on a proposal outline for a temporary ceasefire in Gaza and a hostage release. Hungary's parliament approved Sweden's bid to join NATO or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization on Monday. This decision removed the last major hurdle to membership following nearly 2 years of rigorous negotiations and paved the way for Sweden to join the alliance. The vote passed with a large majority, 188 votes for and 6 against. A presidential signature necessary to officially endorse Sweden's NATO bid is anticipated in the next few days. This approval came after the Swedish Prime Minister's visit to Hungary on Friday, during which the leaders of both nations expressed mutual goodwill. Once Budapest finalizes the approval process of Stockholm's NATO membership application, the document will be sent to the U.S. for further procedures. Subsequently, Sweden will be invited to accede to the Washington Treaty and officially become NATO's 32nd member. The impact of the climate crisis is becoming more and more obvious to humans and their animal neighbors. But among all species, polar bears might be some of the hardest hit. Researchers found polar bears are becoming thinner and having fewer cubs, and their declining health was tied to melting sea ice.
With Arctic sea ice shrinking, many polar bears have to shift their diets to land during parts of the summer. Some bears find a lot of food such as berries, eggs, seabirds, and even caribou antlers, but it takes so much effort. Many calories are burned while trying to eat. They end up losing weight and expending more energy than they take in.
Foods, particularly that they were getting when they were on land, have pretty low caloric content, and the bears have to expend energy to obtain them. So out on the sea ice, they're primarily a sit and wait predator, and they're eating primarily the fat of seals, which has twice the calories of protein and carbohydrates, which is what they are primarily getting when they're on land.
The more time polar bears spend on land, closer to the shore and unable to hunt, the thinner they become. Now that the bears are thinner, they're having fewer cubs.
Our concern is that once mothers with cubs lose their body condition to a certain point, they stop producing milk. And all of a sudden at that point, the cubs now have to rely on their own fat reserves. And cubs in their first year in particular are growing rapidly, have very little stored fat of their own. And so if the mother doesn't get them back out on the ice and feeding on seals shortly after she stops nursing, we've seen this in Western Hudson Bay, where the cubs actually starve to death on land.
The pace of population changes is already startling, so a conservation response will need to come at an equally quick rate. The United States Fish and Wildlife Service lists polar bears as a threatened species due to the loss of its sea ice habitat.
Up next, let's have a look at the weather forecast. And that is all that we have for this hour on VTV News. To rewatch our program, you can visit our official website or YouTube channel or download a mobile app VTVgo for more. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.